Hello students, welcome back to another class of business studies. We were studying about the public sector enterprises, the departmental undertakings we have completed. Now we are going to study about the second public sector enterprise, that is the statutory corporations and its features. So statutory corporation, first we'll study the meaning of statutory corporations. So statutory corporations are public enterprises formed by the special act of the parliament. The Act defines its powers and functions, rules and regulations governing its employees and its relationship with government departments. It's a corporate person and has the capacity of acting in its own name. So, statutory corporation is a public enterprise that comes into existence by a special act that is passed in the parliament. So, it has its own powers and it has its own functions, it has its own rules and regulations which is governing its employees, and it has a very good relationship with the government departments as well. So it is a body created by legislature, and it has its own, as I said already said, it has its own powers and it has its own functions, and it is very financially independent. It has no much control of the government. So statutory corporations therefore have the power of the government, and it is having flexibility in its operations. So this is what is statutory corporations. We'll study about the features of statutory corporation one by one. So there are some important features or characteristic or nature of statutory corporation. We'll study this one by one. The first one is the statutory corporations are set up under an act of parliament and are governed by the provisions of the act. Yes, statutory corporation is always formed under one act that is passed in the parliament, and it has to follow all the provisions that is given in the act, and it has all the powers and privileges of, you can say, which is the act defines and lists down all the powers and privileges whatever is applicable to the statutory corporation. So it is purely under the act of the parliament. The second feature of statutory corporation is statutory corporations are wholly owned by the state government. The government has a power to appropriate its profits, and at the same time the state has to bear the losses if any. Yes, so here what happens is it is owned by the state government completely, and the government is having the total financial responsibility. It has the power to even distribute the profits, and at the same time if there is any loss or risk of loss, it should bear the same. So this is what is, it is wholly owned by the state government. Next feature of statutory corporation is a statutory corporation is a body corporate and can enter into contract and own a property in its own name. Yes, it's considered as a body corporate, means a total separate legal entity, and therefore it has all the right and authority to enter into any contract in its own name, or obtain or acquire any property in its own name, and it can do any sort of transactions and enter into any sort of contract in its own name, because it is a corporate body, or it is a legal entity, separate entity. The fourth feature or nature or characteristic of statutory corporation is the statutory corporations are independently financed. It obtains funds from the government or from the public. Yes, so this organization or this corporation is very, you can say, independent in funds. It obtains its funds from the government or from the public through the revenues, and how they actually fetch or raise the funds is through the sale of goods and services, and they have all the right to use its profits or revenues or income according to their likes and dislikes, however they want it, in a manner they need it. Okay, then the next important feature or characteristic of statutory corporation is a statutory corporation is not concerned with the central budget of the government, and it is not subject to same accounting or audit procedures applicable to government departments. So statutory corporation is not subject to the same accounting and auditing procedure that is applicable to departmental undertakings. It's very strict there, audit and control, but here it is not even having the central budget according to the government. It need not follow even the budgeting of the government. So central budget is not applicable to these statutory corporations. The next and last feature of statutory corporation is the employees of these enterprises are not government or civil servants. They are not called government or civil servants and are not governed by government rules and regulations. Yes, the employees of these enterprises, as we have already studied in departmental undertakings, they are called as government servants, but here they are not government or civil servants and they are not governed by the government rules and regulations. So here what happens is they have their provision, the employees are governed by the provisions given in the act itself. So no government control here, and the government departments sometimes they have on deputation, they have the head of these organizations. So this is what is all about the statutory corporations. They are totally independent. They have their own rules and regulations. They do not follow the government budget. They have to follow the provision of the act that is given in the parliament. So this is all for today's class, dear students. In our next class, we'll study about the merits and limitations of statutory corporation. Thank you.